Welcome to our very first unit this year on equations and inequalities. So nothing in this unit should be brand new, but this is just going to be a quick review of some things we learned in middle school algebra. So our focus today is going to be on solving multi-step equations. So very first, let's take a quick review here and talk about our goal when we're solving equations is to get the variable alone. And to do this, we're going to use inverse operations, which are the opposite of the original equation. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. Opposite of subtraction is addition. Opposite of multiplication is division. So opposite of division is then multiplication. And opposite of a squared is a square root. So before we start, first off, when we solve equations, our goal is to get the variable alone. So, to do this, we need to use something called inverse operations. And inverse operations get rid of the original operation in our problem. So, for example, if we see an addition sign, the inverse or the opposite is to subtract. Therefore, the opposite of subtraction is addition. Opposite of multiplication is division, so opposite of division is multiplication. And the opposite of a squared is a square root. So wherever we see an operation we're trying to get rid of, we will use the opposite. So a few hints to remember as we start by solving. So the first thing is you want to simplify anything you can right at the start. This may look like combining some like terms maybe before we start the problem, or even getting rid of some parentheses. The next thing we want to do is get the variables together on one side of the equation. And the easiest way to do this is by moving the smaller variable to the other side. Then we want to simplify again if we can, and finally we'll solve. So let's take a look at some level 1 examples as we talk about solving multi-step equations. So first off, I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign. And I notice here I can't simplify anything to start, but I want to find my smaller variable, which when I look at 8x and 2x, 2x is smaller. And I'm going to move that positive 2x to the other side. Since this is a positive 2x, in order to move that, we're going to subtract 2x. So then on the left-hand side, we're going to have 8x take away 2x, which is 6x, plus 10 equals 2x minus 2x goes away, leaving us with a negative 8. Now, from this point, we've got our variables on the same side. We want to go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 10 on both sides, leaving me with 6x equals negative 8 get 10 smaller is negative 18. To get rid of a times 6, I'm going to go ahead and divide by 6 on both sides, leaving me with x equals negative 3 for this first problem. All right, let's look at letter B. Letter B, we have nothing to simplify to start, so we want to go ahead and move the smaller variable. And in this case, my smaller variable is the negative 2x. So the opposite of a negative 2x is a positive 2x. So we'll go ahead and add that to both sides to start. My 2x's on the left cancel out, leaving me with 3. 9x plus 2x is 11x, and then we have plus 25 on the end. So the first thing we'll do here, now that we have gotten our variables on the same side, is we're going to go ahead and solve now. So we want to get x by itself, so let's go ahead and subtract 25 from both sides. And when I do this, on the left-hand side, I'm going to be left with negative 22. The right-hand side, 11x. To get rid of a times 11, let's go ahead and do the opposite, divide by 11, leaving me with negative 2 equals x. Let's do one more level 1 problem here. All right, so to start, my smaller variable here is the negative 4x. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4x. We'll do the opposite to get rid of that. So now on the left-hand side, we have 14x minus 2. The 4x's on the right go away, leaving me with 40. Now we want to solve for x. So let's go ahead and add 2 to both sides, getting rid of that constant. leaving me with 14x equals 42. Now, to get rid of times 14, let's divide by 14 on both sides. So on the left-hand side, we're left with x. The right-hand side, 42 divided by 14 is 3. All right, let's take a look at some level 2 problems next. So the difference here as we look at our level 2 problems is we'll notice we have some simplifying to do first before we get our variables together. So you'll see each of these problems has some parentheses in them. So we need to distribute as our first step here. So I'm going to distribute my 4 to both places here. We'll have 4x, and then 4 times a negative 2 is a negative 8. The right-hand side will distribute that 2, leaving us with 2x plus 16. Now we're back to a level 1 type problem. So we want to move our smaller variable, which in this case is 2x. To get rid of a positive 2x, let's go ahead and subtract 2x from both sides. So on the left-hand side, I'm left with 2x minus 8. And on the right-hand side, I'm left with 16. So next, we want to get our variable by itself, and we'll go ahead and add 8 to both sides. So on the left, we have 2x. On the right, we have 16 plus 8 is 24. To get rid of a times 2, let's go ahead and divide by 2 on both sides. 24 divided by 2 will give us 12 as our value for x. Let's try another. All right, so let's get rid of these parentheses to start by distributing. 2 times 4 will give us 8. 2 times negative 5x is negative 10x. On the right-hand side, we'll distribute here. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Now we need to be very careful here because we have a negative 3 times a negative 4, which will give us a positive 12. 2 negatives will give us that positive. Now we ask, is negative 10x or negative 6x our smaller value? And in this case, negative 10x is. So let's go ahead and add 10x. We'll do the opposite to get rid of it. So on the left, we're left with 8. On the right, negative 6 get 10 bigger, leaves us with 4x plus 12. Next, we're trying to get x by itself, so let's go ahead and subtract 12 from both sides. On the left-hand side, we're left with negative 4. On the right-hand side, 4x. Now we want to get rid of the times 4 by dividing by 4 on both sides, leaving us with negative 1 is equal to x. All right, one more level 2 type problem. Lots of parentheses here in this one, a few extra steps here. So we'll start by distributing our 3 into our parentheses here. So we'll have 3x plus 12, and now outside of the parentheses we have another 4x. Over here we've got negative 2x. Again, a negative 2 times a negative 10, like our last one, is going to give us a positive 20. And then we have plus 10 here on the end. So let's combine some like terms before we try and get our variables together. So 3x plus 4x will give us 7x. And then we have that plus 12. On the right-hand side, 20 plus 10 is going to give us 30. So this is already looking a little bit more simplified. Now my smaller variable is negative 2x. So let's go ahead and add 2x to both sides. So we've got 9x plus 12 equals 30. Now let's go ahead and get our x value alone by subtracting 12 on both sides, leaving me with 9x equals 18. Divide by 9, divide by 9, and 18 divided by 9 will give us 2. All right, a couple to finish with here are what's up with these. So pause the video and try these couple of problems, and then unpause to check. All right, this first one here, I'm going to start by combining like terms. So I have 8 take away 9x's is a negative 1x. plus 6. And on the right-hand side, 2 and negative 15 is going to give me, we've got negative 1x and negative 13. So we've simplified as we can. Now we want to move our smaller variable, and we'll see these variables are the same. So we can get rid of either. We'll add 1x to both sides. So negative 1x plus 1x goes away, leaving me with 6. Same thing on the other side, leaving me with negative 13. Now we want to ask ourselves, 6 equals negative 13. Is this true? Does this make sense? And we'll see, no, this is not true. This is going to be an example of a no solution, and we'll abbreviate here, no solution. So this means whatever value we think of for x, nothing will work to make this equation true. All right, let's try this other one over here. So we got some like terms. 6 take away 1 is going to give us 5. And on the right-hand side, let's see, we have 4x. Take away 6x is negative 2x. And 8 take away 3 is 5. So again, now that we've simplified a little bit, let's move our smaller variable. We'll see our variables are the same. So to get rid of negative 2x, we'll add 2x. And we'll see here we're left with 5 equals 5, which is a true statement, always. So in this case, we have infinite number of solutions. We could pick any value for x, and whatever we plug in is going to work in this case. All right, for our level 3 problems, let's go ahead and look at some word problems. So this first one, we have during summer vacation, you charge people $10 per hour to teach their children math. And a flat rate of $12 for the cost of driving there. So first off, this word per tells me we've got a variable here. So we'll say $10 for each hour, and then 12 hours for getting there. If you make $42 in one day, how many hours did you spend teaching? So my total looks like it's going to be 42. Total will go on one side of the equal sign. Alrighty, now we gotta solve. So to solve for 10x, let's go ahead and, to solve for x, let's go ahead and subtract 12, leaving me with 10x equals 42 take away 12 is 30. To get rid of times 10, let's divide by 10, leaving me with x equals 3. So, how many hours did you spend teaching? 3 hours for this problem here. 3 hours would make $42. All right, let's look at letter J. In this problem, we have Sarah paid $100 to be a member of Core Power Yoga. So initially, she paid $100. When she takes a class, it costs $5. So each class costs $5. Now, Missy is not a member, so she doesn't pay that upfront cost, but it costs her $25 for each class that she takes. So we want to know how many classes it would take for these two girls to be paying the same price. So let's go ahead and solve for x. I notice here there's no simplifying to be done. So we want to go ahead and move our smaller variable. We're going to move the plus 5x by subtracting 5x. So now we're left with 100 equals 20x. Now to get rid of times 20, we're going to divide by 20 on both sides, leaving me with x equals 5. So this means here, in order for these girls to be paying the same price, they would need to take 5 classes. Now, of course, if Missy took 1 class and Sarah took 1 class, Missy is paying less. But if Sarah and Missy took 10 classes, Sarah is going to be paying less. So it takes 5 classes for their price to be the same.